Did you know that isolation amplifies fear, heightening paranoia and distorting our perception of reality? Studies show that being trapped in a confined space with others can break even the strongest bonds, revealing our darkest truths. As the clock counts down to a new year, what would happen if time itself refused to move forward? The elevator chimed softly as Chloe stepped into the penthouse, the cold metal doors sliding shut behind her. The space was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, its lights glittering against the winter night. Laughter echoed from the living room where a group of friends toasted with champagne. Chloe adjusted the strap of her dress and scanned the room. She felt out of place, like an extra in a play where everyone else knew their lines. Her best friend Jenna waved her over, a smile too bright to be genuine plastered on her face. "Chloe, you made it," Jenna said, pulling her into a hug that was just a little too tight. "You have to meet Marcus. He's hosting tonight." Marcus appeared as if on cue, his charisma filling the room. "You must be Chloe," he said, his smile practiced but undeniably charming. "Make yourself at home. It's going to be a night to remember." The party moved like clockwork, each guest falling into their role. Jenna flitted between conversations. Marcus commanded the room, and Chloe lingered on the edges, observing. The guests' laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, but Chloe couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She drifted toward the massive floor-to-ceiling windows where the twinkling city stretched out before her. Below, the streets teemed with people waiting for the countdown. From up here, it all looked like a snow globe. Pristine, contained, and far away. Too far away. Chloe sipped her drink and glanced at the clocks scattered throughout the penthouse. Marcus had an eclectic taste. An ornate grandfather clock by the bar, a sleek digital display over the fireplace, and an antique mantel clock on a side table. At first, she admired the mismatched collection, but something made her pause. They weren't in sync. The grandfather clock's hands crawled sluggishly, barely reaching 11:58, while the digital display blinked erratically, skipping seconds as if in a rush to reach midnight. The mantel clock ticked at a normal pace, but its hands pointed to 11:50. "Do you see this?" Chloe murmured to Jenna, gesturing toward the clocks. Jenna laughed lightly, barely looking. "Oh, Marcus loves weird vintage stuff. Half of them probably don't even work." Chloe frowned. It wasn't just the clocks, it was the air. It felt heavier. A low hum, almost imperceptible, seemed to vibrate beneath the sounds of the party. She opened her mouth to ask Jenna if she heard it, but the countdown began, pulling her attention back to the group. 10, 9, 8. The room buzzed with excitement, everyone's voices overlapping. Marcus raised his glass high. "To a night we'll never forget." Chloe's unease deepened. The clocks were still out of sync. The grandfather clock ticked agonizingly behind, while the digital display skipped ahead, flickering wildly. She glanced at the mantel clock. It hadn't moved at all. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. The room erupted into cheers. Glasses clinked and confetti cannons popped, sending bursts of shimmering paper into the air. Fireworks exploded in the sky outside, vibrant colors illuminating the penthouse. But something was wrong. The noise died abruptly, as though someone had pressed mute. The fireworks outside continued to glow, but no sound reached the room. Chloe's ears popped in the sudden silence. "Why is it so quiet?" Jenna asked, her voice trembling. She glanced at Marcus, her usual composure cracking. Marcus gave a tight laugh. "Soundproofing?" His tone was forced, his confidence faltering. The silence deepened, pressing against their ears like a living thing. Chloe turned back to the windows. The fireworks weren't fading, they were frozen mid-explosion. She blinked, certain her eyes were playing tricks on her. but the vibrant colors remained suspended in the sky. "Does anyone else see this?" Evan asked from across the room, his voice strained. Chloe's breath caught. It wasn't just the fireworks. The streets below had frozen too. Cars sat unmoving at intersections, and the throngs of people waiting for the countdown were perfectly still, as if time itself had stopped. The cityscape looked eerily perfect, like a diorama trapped in glass. "What the hell is going on?" Jenna whispered. Chloe looked around the penthouse. The clocks had all stopped. The grandfather clock's pendulum hung still. The digital display over the fireplace had gone blank, and the mantel clock was eerily silent. Even the faint hum she'd felt earlier had vanished, leaving behind an oppressive stillness. "Probably a power surge," Marcus offered, though his voice betrayed his doubt. Jenna bolted toward the elevator. "I'll check the lobby. Something's wrong." The elevator doors refused to open. She pounded on the keypad, but it flickered briefly before shutting off completely. "No, no, no," she muttered, jabbing at the buttons in vain. Evan grabbed his phone, muttering about calling for help, but his expression darkened as he stared at the screen. "No signal," he said flatly. He moved to the landline phone on the bar, but it too was dead. "This isn't normal," Chloe said, her voice shaking. "Everyone just calm down," Marcus said, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "We're fine. It's probably just a technical glitch. Power outage or something." Chloe stepped closer to him. "A power outage doesn't freeze fireworks in midair." Marcus opened his mouth to reply, but the lights flickered, plunging the room into brief darkness. When they came back on, everything felt different. The air was colder, sharper. Chloe's gaze snapped to the windows, but they no longer showed the city. Instead, they reflected only the room, an identical, hollow version of the penthouse with no one inside. "Does anyone else see that?" she whispered. Hours passed, or what felt like hours. The clocks remained frozen, and the oppressive silence gnawed at their nerves. The group sat in a circle, their conversations devolving into arguments. Evan turned on Marcus. "You knew about this, didn't you? This is your place. What the hell did you do?" Marcus bristled. "Do you think I'd trap myself here? Use your head." "Guys, stop it," Jenna snapped, her voice shrill. "Fighting isn't going to solve anything." But the damage was done. Suspicion hung thick in the air. Chloe retreated to the bar, pouring herself another drink. Her hands trembled as she stared at the swirling liquid. Sophia, Jenna's sister, appeared beside her. "You're thinking about leaving," she said quietly. Chloe laughed bitterly. "No kidding, except there's no way out." Sophia tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Not physically, no. But sometimes leaving is about seeing the truth." The lights flickered and the room shifted. The walls seemed to breathe, warping as if alive. Chloe blinked, and for a moment the reflections in the windows weren't her friends. They were something else. Twisted shadows mimicking their forms. She gasped, stepping back. "Did anyone else see that?" Evan turned to her, his face pale. "See what?" Before she could answer, a deafening hum filled the air. The shadows in the reflections began to move, their mouths twisting into silent screams. One by one, the group saw them too. "What is this?" Jenna whimpered, clutching Marcus's arm. The shadows stepped closer to the glass, their movements deliberate. Then, as if shattering a barrier, they stepped through. The group scattered, running for non-existent exits. Chloe found herself in the study, the walls lined with books that now oozed black ink. Marcus was there too, his face ashen. "This isn't the first time," he admitted, his voice barely audible. "The penthouse. It's always been like this. It traps people, keeps them." "What are you talking about?" Chloe demanded. I thought I thought I could control it, but it doesn't work like that. His voice cracked. It feeds on us, on our fear. Chloe ran back into the main room where the others were huddled together. The shadows surrounded them, but they didn't attack. They simply watched. The grandfather clock began ticking again, slowly at first, then faster. Midnight struck again, and the cycle began anew. The fireworks outside rewound, the group's memories resetting. Chloe screamed, but no sound escaped her lips. The clock ticked louder. Sometimes the end of a year isn't the end at all. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you on the other side.